Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Gokul Aduri Mandala Mahite. Gokula Karuni Mandala Mahite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Damodar Rati Vardhana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Vrinda Vipineshe. Damodar Rati Vardhana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Vrinda Vipineshe. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Vrishabhanudadhi Navashashilekhe Lalita Sakhi Gunaramita Vishakhe. Vrishabhanudadhi Navashashilekhe Lalita Sakhi Gunaramita Vishakhe. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Karuna Guru Mai Karuna Bharite. Sanakha Sanathana Vanita Charite. Karuna Guru Mai Karuna Bharite. Sanakha Sanathana Vanita Charite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Gokula Karuni Mandala Mahite. Gokula Karuni Mandala वरधनवेशे पारिनिष्कुटवृन्दा विपिनेशे राधे जय जय माधव दयिते राधे जय जय माधव वृषभानुदादि नवशशि देखे ललिता सखी गुणरमिता विशाखे वृषभानुदादि नवशशि देखे पारिनिष्कुटवृन्दा विपिनेशे राधे जय जय माधव दयिते राधे जय जय माधव करुणामयि करुणा भरिते सनक सनातन वर्णिता चरिते करुणामयि करुणा भरिते सनक सनातन वर्णिता चरिते राधे जय जय माधव दयिते राधे जय जय माधव दयिते गोकुलधारुणि मण्डलमहिते गोकुलधारुणि मण्डलमहिते राधे जय जय माधव दयिते राधे जय जय माधव ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणं रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्री गुरुदीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम् When the water from the different rooms was finally let out through the halls, it appears as if new rivers were rushing out to meet the waters of the ocean. Gundicha Marjana pastime. The cleansing is described in such a way, like we discussed, I think, a couple of weeks back. There were hundreds of devotees who were going out in their great enthusiasm to assist Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the service. They were so enthusiastic that hundreds were going out to get um, pots of water. Hundreds were coming inside, and because of the clashes, some pots were getting broken, and many were bringing new pots. And in this way, there was the enthusiastic cleansing of the temple was going on. Outside the gateway of the temple, all the roads were also cleansed, and no one could tell exactly how this was done. In commenting on the cleansing of Gundicha temple, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the world leader, was personally giving instructions on how one should receive Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within one's cleansed and pacified heart. So, Gundicha Marjanam is compared to cleansing of the heart, and until the heart is cleansed, it will be very difficult to meditate on Lord Krishna. In this age, everyone's heart is specially unclean, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Hriday Antasthohi Abhadrani. To wash away all dirty things accumulated within the heart, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised everyone to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So, this is uh, what will actually cleanse the heart is the holy name itself, and hearing about Krishna. And these two things are most important. One is hearing about Krishna, and one is chanting Krishna's name. Um, and it becomes important to take time out, especially to hear about the Lord. Um, and this particular verse, Hide Antastoi Abhadrani, uh, from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, where it says that as one is engaged in hearing about Krishna, the Lord, and as one develops eagerness to hear about the Lord sitting in the heart cleanses away the desire for material enjoyment. Actually, all these processes are absolute in itself, and the most important among them is hearing and chanting. Um, and recently, somehow, I met one Westerner who is actually quite spiritual, but he had very sinful life in the past. In a way, three marriages before. I mean, he's still 30 or something, but he had three marriages before, three daughters, and drugs, and went to jail also. And like American culture is a shock for me also. So I was just talking to him in detail about his journey and what led him to spiritual path. So when I heard his past and all that he has done, it was kind of quite bewildering, hearing about the culture here. But then at some point of time, he started reading scriptures. So first he was some eagerness came to read. So he heard Bhagavad Gita, he read Bhagavad Gita. He said he read Bhagavad Gita maybe like 10 times. And then he read Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he read Chaitanya Charitamrita. And now he is reading Srimad Bhagavatam again. And this all he did just in 4 years. So somehow he went through a lot of stress in his life. Um, and um, uh, Now, just by hearing about Chaitanya Charitamrita, hearing about Srimad Bhagavatam, um, and he's completely transformed. And like in our little house in Grand Rapids, he joined full time. Now we have one full time member. So, and I mean, I don't know how long he will stay. Usually, we cannot depend upon Westerners, generally speaking. Um, but what I noticed is just by hearing, like somehow he developed interest in hearing about Krishna by reading scriptures. And just by hearing, he developed strong self-control, sense control, strong spirit of renunciation, and all good qualities. I mean, when I see him, it doesn't seem like uh, at some point of time he was engaged in many different activities. So it was very inspiring to me, and such a strong service attitude. Actually, amazing. I um, whole day, like 8 to 10 hours, he serves, and whatever he's asked to do, he's doing very sincerely. So all these qualities developed. I mean, he actually never tried to chant, but he was always hearing. And I was remembering this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya. Um, um, if one daily hears about Lord Krishna, then um, this activity is purifying in itself, is reading scriptures. And anybody asks him that how you went through such transformation in your life, and then because of his own experience, he always says reading scriptures, reading scriptures. So this particular verse says that when Krishna sees that this person has developed eagerness to hear about me, when Krishna sees, then Krishna sitting in the heart removes the contamination within our heart. So what is required from our side is the eagerness to hear about Lord, eagerness to chant Krishna's name. And purification is not in our hand, but when Krishna sees that we have developed strong eagerness, and Krishna will remove that. And I was very inspired personally by him, and I was like, oh, I wish I can become like him. Although apparently he is very new, but somehow he made like significant advancement just before he came here also. So the idea is when the heart is cleansed, um, Krishna will reveal himself to us. Krishna is not dependent on any, um, like Krishna is Abhigya Swara, Shrimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, first word. He's completely independent. With whom he reciprocates, when and how, no logical reasoning can define it. It's where the devotee is at what stage and who that devotee really is. Everything is between Krishna and his devotees, and Krishna reciprocates as we approach. Actually, in one, I was reading one of the book by Shivram Maharaj, and he was mentioning that it's not the time, it's not the number of years. None of these things matters, but just the pure faith. Um, and Krishna is inconceivable. How we reciprocate with whom, there is absolutely no logic. So here Gundicha Marjanam is mentioned is compared to cleansing of the heart, and once the heart is cleansed, Krishna will reveal himself. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam confirms this statement, Shanvatam Swakatha Krishna, Punya Shavana Kirtana. So Shanvatam means to hear. Swakatha Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna. Punya Shavana Kirtana means they are all pious activity. This is not material piety, but bhakti piety. So Punya Shavana Kirtana. If a devotee at all wants to cleanse his heart, he must chant and hear the glories of the Lord, Sri Krishna, Srinvatam Swakatha Krishna. Krishna wants to continue living within the heart, and the Lord wants to give directions, but one has to clean his heart as clean as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept the Gundicha temple. Krishna is eager to enter in our heart, and he is eager to help us and give us direction as long as we try to keep the heart simple and clean. The devotee therefore has to cleanse his heart just as the Lord cleansed the Gundicha temple. In this way, one can be pacified and enriched in devotional service. And naturally, the nourishment comes from if Krishna can stay within our heart. Actually, what varies is the contemplation, uh, what goes on inside while we are chanting or while we are doing other things. And if the heart is cleansed, Krishna will naturally make his way, and one will be very pacified. We have all experienced when we can remember Krishna, we become peaceful and enriched or nourished in our devotional service. Modernized material benefits are like the dust of material contamination. When this dust is agitated by the whirlwind of fruitive activity, it overcomes the heart. Uh, so basically, material desires, modernized material benefits are like contamination, and the dust is agitated by the whirlwind of fruitive activities. Fruitive activity means uh, I am doing something because I have some motive there. It's not selfless. And when we get into this loop, that why to serve Krishna, what am I getting by serving Krishna? Rather, let me do something where I'm getting something, some kind of sense gratification, or some kind of wealth, or some kind of respect, or some kind of fill in the blanks. So if I'm getting something, then I'm very eager to go there and spend my time there because there is some return. But what is the point of going to the temple and serving the Lord or serving Krishna? What do I get in return? There is no benefit. Just going and doing service selflessly, leave it. So this is called fruitive activity. And sometimes we may get into the mood of fruitive activity where uh, if we encourage fruitive activities, that will take over. In a way, we are not inspired to do any selfless service anymore. Once in a while, we may do it, but we're not really inspired to do it. So this is when this dust is agitated. And what is this dust? What material benefit I get by the whirlwind of fruitive activity? It overcomes the heart. Thus, the mirror of the heart is covered by dust. And then um, my spiritual master says, if one is getting paid, and even if one is serving full time in the temple, but he's serving because he's getting paid, and if his motive is he's getting paid, that's why he's serving. So again, it becomes fruitive. So service means selfless. Like, I don't want anything, I just go and render seva. So fruitive activity covers the heart with dust, and one becomes motivated by selfish motives. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord confirms that He sits within the heart of a pure devotee. Sadhavo hridayam mayam sadhunam hridayam to aham. Where He says that this is actually Vishnu telling to Durvasa Muni, that I am sitting in the heart of my pure devotees. By his practical example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown us that all the grains of sand must be picked up thoroughly and thrown outside, which is basically, um, we have to see the material motives within our heart, um, the fruitive mentality within our heart, and these are like grains of sand. So we have to thoroughly pick them up and throw outside. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the outside of the temple, fearing that the grains of sand would again come within. So, like, he took the sand and he threw it outside the temple, but then the wind may flow and those sand particles may enter the temple again. So, what he did, Mahaprabhu, is he thoroughly cleansed outside of the temple also. So, till far, far away, so that there is no possibility of sand coming back again. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that even though one may become free from the desire for fruitive activity, sometimes the subtle desire for fruitive activity again comes into being within the heart. So one may be free from desire, in a way one is selflessly serving, but if one is not careful, then um, one may be deviated again. And again, one may want to serve only for the purpose of material gain. So this is possible. I mean, specifically, like, somebody may be serving full time, and then he is serving because selfless, in a way, just service. And one time he may come to think that, what am I getting? There is no benefit. So let me, this for full time devotees. So let me make some wealth. Let me get this and let me get that, and then I'm anyway spending the time in that way. It will be beneficial for me also. I will get something for myself, and I can continue serving Krishna here and there. So Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur uh, explains that even though one may become free from desire for fruitive activity, that I want to render service to Krishna, and I don't want anything for myself, and I just want to render service to Krishna. So one may develop that attitude, but sometimes a subtle desire for fruitive activity, but the in the heart there is desire to enjoy. And then sometimes it may happen, if one is not careful, that that desire may sprout up, and then one may again go into footive mentality, that I want things for myself. uh, that may come back if one is not careful. So sometimes it's a subtle desire, because that desire is there to enjoy. So sometimes a subtle desire fruitive activity comes into the being within the heart. So this is just like uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took all the sand which is compared to anything other than pure devotional service, is trying to only please Krishna. So all fruitive mentalities, basically he took it and threw it out, but then there is a possibility of that coming in again. So he threw it out, through he cleansed outside the temple also. So likewise, one has to be very careful. One often thinks of conducting business to improve devotional activity, but the contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding, such as Kutinati, fault finding, Pratishtha Asha, the desire for name and fame and for higher position, Jiva Himsa, envy of other living entities, Nishiddhachar, accepting things forbidden in the Shastra, Kama, desire for material gain, and Puja, hankering for popularity. So these are weeds. So this is compared to one is taking to pure devotional service. One is deciding this what I want to do is serve Lord Krishna, and then one may be determined to serve only Lord Krishna, and then these weeds may grow if one is not careful. So when one render devotional service, because some of these desires sprout up, which are compared to the weeds, then again one goes back in kind of um, uh, material contamination. So one has to be very careful. And these six are described like in the beginning. One may be very careful, um, but then one may start finding fault. One may start doing devotional service because there is some name and fame, or one may start envying others, especially uh, um, when we are not able to make spiritual progress that others are making. This feeling of envy may arise. Nishiddhachar is one may initially one may be very strict with one's devotional service, and then slowly one may engage in activities that are not conducive. And naturally, like in the beginning, devotees are very careful with one's devotional service, but gradually some familiarity develops with the process of devotional service. So in the beginning, one is very careful with following the rules and regulations and with one's consciousness, because one don't know much. But then after some time, one starts feeling that I think I'm nicely established in Krishna consciousness, and I don't need to be so strict with rules and regulations, and it's okay. Initially, what was not okay, gradually, drop by drop, it starts becoming okay for us. And this is called Nishiddhachar, or the our Sadachar is getting compromised. Initially, we may be very strict about hearing a lot. We may be very strict about chanting very sincerely in the morning. We may be very strict about avoiding things that are not conducive. But gradually, because of the familiarity with devotional service, this is one of the weed. One becomes laxed, and one thinks it's okay. I'm still a devotee, and I'm still doing very nicely. Um, uh, but that is like uh, we have cleansed certain part of our heart, and we have thrown it outside, and we are letting some of the dust come back in now, and naturally the heart will become dirty again if we're not very careful. In the beginning, one may be, so these are all the things that come after one comes to Krishna consciousness. In the beginning of one's Krishna consciousness, one may not have pratishtha asha, desire for name and fame or for high position. One may not have that. One is coming to Krishna. Generally, if somebody comes to Krishna consciousness, it's only for rendering service to Krishna, making progress in Krishna consciousness, cleansing one's heart, experiencing Krishna. Those are the only desire with which generally one comes to Krishna consciousness. But then, after being in Krishna consciousness for some time, one may start looking for pratishtha asha, or find fault, find envy, or may accept things which are not conducive, or may not be very careful. And then kama, which is desire for material gain. This is like leaving everything and then thinking like, okay, now I wish I have something. Now let me try something out. So these all weeds may arise uh, from no fruitive activity to fruitive. All these things makes our devotional service fruitive, because now I have a motivation, what I want to do. And that motivation is something for my pleasure, not just for Krishna pleasure. And puja is hankering for popularity, like I want to be recognized. So Prabhupada says that so one has to be careful. The word kutinati means duplicity. Duplicity has many meanings. Basically means lack of simplicity, or how we act and how we behave and how we present ourselves is different from what is really inside us. Or in other words, it is said that um, living double standards, um, or having a private life which is unknown to anyone. So they all come under uh, Kutinati. In the beginning, one is quite kind of straightforward, but slowly one may start becoming weak. So this is a weed. And then, as an example of Pratishtha Asha, one may attempt to imitate Srila Haridas Thakur by living in a solitary place. So this is Pratishtha Asha. I want to chant 192 rounds. Okay, not 192, but this many rounds. Or why I'm doing this? Because I want to feel I'm better than others. Yeah, I want to show that I'm better than others, or I want to feel I'm better than others. So um, if it's generally mixed. Mixed means I'm doing it for my spiritual progress, but at the same time, I want to be recognized as serious devotee, sincere devotee, and fill in the blanks. Or he does this, he's known for this. So that weed may, so one may continue doing what one is doing, and one is doing for Krishna and one is doing for some Pratishtha Asha also. It may happen. So it's not that we have all these things or we don't have all these things. These purports by Srila Prabhupada are just a note of caution, or maybe fasting, or I'm fasting because there is some pratishtha asha, desire to be respected, or fill in the blanks. Any form of devotional service, anything done which is not for the pleasure of Krishna, naturally, it's the weeds which are growing. And the benefit also is just good karma. It's not pleasing Krishna, because Krishna is pleased when something is done to please Krishna. Bhava gai janardana. Krishna is not pleased by what we are doing, but why we are doing. And so one may attempt to imitate Srila Haridas Thakur by living in a solitary place. Some people were very inspired during Srila Prabhupada's time. Go to Vrindavan, sit in one place, and chant lot of rounds and do just that. But then actually, Prabhupada says that in the beginning stages, one has to work. One has to work for Lord Krishna. One has to do physical service. And that is very conducive. And once one become old and kind of realize Krishna to a very deep and greater extent, then Prabhupada says you can decide if you want to retire or if you want to continue service. But Prabhupada showed by his own example that he was always focusing on the mission of Lord Chaitanya, and for us, the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So he was always focusing on that aspect, And anyways, our progress in Krishna consciousness is not dependent upon our endeavor, but it is dependent upon pleasing the Lord. So if we just focus on seva aspect, serving the mission in whichever capacity we can, Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu will take care of our Krishna consciousness. If one is just engaged in serving the mission of Sri Guru will take care. Then one does not need to take much anxiety about one's own Krishna consciousness, because our advancement in our own Krishna consciousness is not dependent upon our endeavor anyways. It is actually dependent upon Krishna's mercy. Otherwise, like my spiritual master says, there are so many people living in Vrindavan and trying to do bhajan, and then he says that and there are so many people who are outside Vrindavan all over the world, and they are just trying to serve the mission of Shri Guru and Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And my spiritual master says they are experiencing way more than people living in Vrindavan just doing bhajan, because it's like, by my endeavor I can win over Krishna, but Krishna cannot be won over by some equations or by our efforts, by his mercy alone. And Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasada. Mercy descends by the mercy of Sri Guru. Actually, it all depends upon blessings, actually, the blessings of devotees, the blessings of Sri Guru, and the blessings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, I may be doing a lot of service in my own or lot of sadhana, but then I may still go through difficult times. But if I'm serving devotees, uh, and the mission, then because of the blessings that I receive, that's how I can actually make tangible progress in my Krishna consciousness. Um, and Srila Prabhupada disciples, they show by their own example that they said, like, we are too busy serving Srila Prabhupada mission that we have no time to think about going back to Godhead. It doesn't matter because we are too busy serving. And one who has, we were discussing the other time, that one who has implicit faith in the words of Sri Guru and service to Sri Guru, the whole Vedic knowledge is revealed to him by the mercy. Uh, uh, so uh, one may attempt to imitate Sri Haridas Thakur by living in a solitary place, but then there may be that Pratishta Asha. One's real desire may be for name and fame. In other words, one thinks that fools will accept one to be as good as Haridas Thakur just because one lives in a solitary place. These are all material desires. And we see that in one of the example also, where Haridas Thakur, he was chanting, and he became ecstatic. So he fell on the ground, he became unconscious, tears flowed from his eyes, and everybody respected him. Then another person, when another thief or somebody, when Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Leela, it's not in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think it's Chaitanya Bhagavad. So another person, when he saw how Haridas Thakur was so much respected by others, he thought, I should be like them, then I will also be respected. So then he also started exhibiting some symptoms, like false crying and false dancing and others. But one of the snake charmer who was present there, he could understand that actual Haridas Thakur was genuine and this person is imitating. So he beat him with the stick and this person ran away. So again, Pratishta Asha. So these are all material desires. A neophyte devotee is certain to be attacked by other material desires as well, namely desire for women and money. In this way, the heart is again filled with dirty things and becomes harder and harder, like that of a materialist. So Prabhupada is telling a neophyte devotee is certain to be attacked by other material desires as well. So one has to keep the discrimination high, and one has to be careful, um, not to give into these things. So attack is, Prabhupada says, for a neophyte devotee certain. Um, and not only this, even other material desires. Um, and if one contemplates, then Krishna says not good because one becomes Mityachari. Mityachari sa uchyate. Mityachari means one is acting as a very sincere, but internally one is dwelling on the object of sense gratification. So, and also here it says that one whose heart contemplates on woman and money, his heart will become harder and harder, like that of a materialist. So the word jiva himsa, envy of other living entities, actually means stopping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada says, I always say that, very nice. He said jiva himsa means envy, and envy means we don't want to preach, or stopping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. So preaching should not be stopped. Sometime it is seen that I just want to focus on my own Krishna consciousness, and maybe I was preaching earlier, but now I'm not interested in preaching activities. So why? Because my own Krishna consciousness is more important than me. So that is not really encouraged. That's just like imitating Haridas Thakur. Prabhupada said you can do that. Prabhupada said work now, samadhi later, at later stage. And also not willing to share his envy because we are concerned about I should be saved, I should be happy. And if others are suffering, that's okay. And sometimes we feel bad preaching. Sometimes we feel uncomfortable while preaching because we think that what will others think of me? So again, their service to Krishna becomes more important than my own prestige in front of others. Yes, we don't want to offend people, but then um, we are not interested in material relationships anyways. Um, but a devotee may try to use one's contacts in one relationship to see if the other person is interested in Krishna. And if the other person is not really interested in Krishna and they have strong material desires, then one may keep the interaction minimal, whatever is required for, if it is a job relationship, or, but then one may try to increase a stronger relationship with devotees. So it will be very nice if devotees have relationship among each other rather than outside. If the relationship is favorable for Krishna consciousness, that is very nice. But yes, stopping to preach means, um, see, envy is very subtle. Like, I don't want my son, I don't want my daughter to take up Krishna consciousness very seriously, because what will happen to their education, what will happen. Neophyte devotees, they think in that direction, but then they're not able to consider how uh, material life leads to repeated births. And we don't know the next life also. And if there is any sinful activity, then there is strong karmic reaction. And uh, so uh, this is something that we cannot see because we may not be that much kind of clear or have that much faith or that much vision of Krishna consciousness. But the matter of fact is, if somebody is engaging in sinful activities and you don't tell them about Krishna, or you don't help them in some, or you don't make an endeavor to help them in their Krishna consciousness, then we are telling that it's okay. You may suffer in next life, and that's okay. And after I came to this place and seeing the Western culture, and I'm literally in shock because seeing Western culture more closely, it's like my personal realization is they don't have a culture, and it's actually a hellish culture that they live in. All American boys and girls, and it's like I'm still trying to come out of shock. After coming here, I'm thinking that this is impossible. Bring them to Krishna consciousness. But at the same time, we understand from scriptures that the kind of uh, things they do, the kind of relationships they have, um, it's like sure short way to hellish life, like immense amount of suffering. And this is the culture here. I mean, it's such a shock. So, like Saswati Thakur used to say that Western culture should be crushed because it's really uh, mind-boggling for me. I will tell you the kind of people I am dealing with these days. I went out on the streets. This is, I think, day for yesterday, and we were doing some sankirtan and we were giving out some books. So I approached the lady and I said, "These are the books on yoga and meditation, and this will be very beneficial for you. And are you interested?" She said, "Yes, I'm very interested." She said, "Yes, I'm very interested." So then there was another girl sitting next to her, and I asked her, the girl I was talking to, that is she your friend? Is she also interested in yoga and meditation? And then this girl said, "No, she is not my friend. She is my wife." And I was in a cultural shock. And I took some time to digest. And I don't know what to say to them because I myself was in a shock. Then I told them that actually I'm new to this culture. I'm still learning this culture. And then she said, "She's my wife." And then they have children also. And I said, "Who are they?" This, and she said, "They are our children." And there was another cultural shock for me. And then I was still trying to digest. I mean, they have no culture. It's uh, I mean, if we stay away from them, very good, because this is America. I mean, uh, few Americans I speak with, and as I was realizing more, I was telling them that seeing America is hell. And Srila Prabhupada, devotees asked Prabhupada, that, "Prabhupada, how do you feel coming in America?" And Prabhupada said, "I feel like I have come to hell because I'm not criticizing, I'm just sharing what I'm seeing, um, this word. But at the same time, we understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission will spread, and they are part and parcels of Krishna, and they are actually eager for Krishna. And because they don't see, they may not realize that they are eager for Krishna. They have hankerings that is actually hankering for Krishna. That's actually hankering of Jivatma, trying to connect to Krishna. But because they don't know what to do and they have no rules and regulations, they kind of, it's a very free culture. They don't have any rules and regulations. So they do anything and everything, whatever it takes to make them happy. In India, the culture is there. We are bound by culture. So even though the desires may be there, we tolerate. And then we go along. But here everything is like, if it gives me pleasure, I will continue, otherwise leave it. Go somewhere else or do something else, do whatever it takes. And almost every person I meet, they have been to jails, they are all on drugs. So this is like every single person is on drugs. So that's the culture here. Um, but Prabhupada himself here says that um, Jiva Himsa, envy of other living entities, actually means stopping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. So um, preaching is described as paropakar, welfare activity for others. Those who are ignorant of the benefit of devotional service must be educated by preaching. If one stops preaching and simply sits down in a solitary place, he is engaging in material activity. So Prabhupada says Jiva Hamsa is, if one stops preaching and sit down in a solitary place, like I'm very happy with my own Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says he's engaging in material activity. To give us practical instructions, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleansed the temple twice. His second cleansing was more thorough. The idea was to throw away all the stumbling blocks on the path of devotional service. He cleansed the temple with firm conviction, as is evident from his using his own personal garments for cleaning. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleansed the temple twice. So the first cleansing was uh, externally becoming pure, like following four regulatory principles, chanting 16 rounds. And the second cleansing was removing the subtle desires to enjoy. Basically, all stumbling blocks. Even though all dirty things may be cleansed away, sometimes subtle desires remain in the mind for impersonalism, monism, success, and the four principles of religious activity, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. All these are like spots on clean cloth. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also wanted to cleanse all these away. So one may be following regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds, but these things usually devotees, most of devotees don't have. But yeah, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, these desires or impersonalism, they are again compared to the uh, material desires, all these. And Mahaprabhu wanted to get rid of these of them also, basically. Only devotion to Krishna. See, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to teach every devotee by his personal behavior. Everyone who spreads the culture of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts a similar responsibility. The Lord, basically, Mahaprabhu was very refined in his behavior, and following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu means one must also be very refined. Like follow his behavior, follow his actions, follow his words, follow his teachings. Um, yeah, overall, follow his example. The Lord was personally chastising and praising individuals in the course of the cleaning, and those who are engaged as acharyas must learn from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how to train devotees by personal example. So when Mahaprabhu was doing something which was inappropriate, Mahaprabhu chastised them. Like one devotee washed his feet and he would say to Saru Damodar, see what your Bengali Vaishnav has done. Or somebody who was little bit lazy or not doing proper cleaning, then Mahaprabhu would show them that you clean like this. So in that way, and somebody who was cleaning very nicely, so he was glorifying them that wow, very nice. So in this way, he was chastising and he was praising, and that's what Srila Prabhupada also did. Basically, um, um, last week we saw chastisement is also okay, or correcting is also okay as long as it is done with the mood of service, with the mood of love. If it is in the mood of envy, then it will not be very helpful. So those who are engaged as acharyas must learn from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how to train devotees by personal example. The Lord was very pleased with those who could cleanse the temple by taking out undesirable things accumulated within. This is called anartha nivritti, cleansing the heart of all unwanted things. So Mahaprabhu was very pleased. Basically, will be very pleased with those who are working on cleansing their heart of all anarthas. Um, Okay. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the Nasimha temple inside and outside. Finally, he rested a few minutes and then began dancing. So then there is Nasimha temple is a nice temple just outside Gundicha temple. So Mahaprabhu went there, he cleansed that. And then after the whole temple was cleansed and the Nasimha temple was cleansed, then they engage in Sankirtan. So the Gundicha pastime actually, that was the main aspect of Gundicha pastime. And now the last part of the chapter. All around Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees perform congregational chanting. The Lord, just like a maddened lion, danced in the middle. And yeah, Tamaj was chanting and dancing. As usual, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, there were perspiration, trembling, fading tears, jubilation, and roaring. Indeed, the tears from his eyes washed his body and those before him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then ordered Sri Gopal, the son of Advaitacharya, to dance. So Advaitacharya was also there. He had a son, Sri Gopal. So they all were engaged in chanting and dancing, and Mahaprabhu asked Advaitacharya's son to dance and chant. Prema Veshanita Kari Haila Murchite Achita Nahana Teha Padila Bhumite. While dancing in ecstatic love, Sri Gopal fainted and fell to the ground unconscious. So Gopal, the son of Advaita, um, he became ecstatic and then he fainted and he fell to the ground unconscious. When Sri Gopal fainted, Advaita Acharya hastily took him upon his lap. Seeing that he was not breathing, he became very much agitated. Advaita Acharya um, it pained his heart, basically, and he became very much concerned. And he was trying to bring Gopal back to life, but Gopal had no symptoms of life. Advaita Acharya Prabhu's son. Advaita Acharya and others began to chant the holy name of Lord Narasimha and sprinkle water. We put him chanting SyKrPr and sprinkling water. The roaring of the chant was so great that it seemed to shake the entire universe. So Advaitacharya was in his kind of full, with his full voice, trembling voice, and he was intensely praying for Gopal, um, and all the devotees were also praying. Um, it seemed to shake the entire universe. When the boy did not regain consciousness after some time, Advaita Acharya and other devotees began to cry, and Gopal was unaffected and he was no symptoms of life. So everybody started crying, including Advaita Acharya. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu placed his hand on the chest of Sri Gopal and said loudly, Gopal, stand up. As soon as Gopal heard the voice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he immediately came to his senses. All the devotees then began to dance, chanting the holy name of Hari. So this is one of the pastime with Advaita Acharya and Lord Chaitanya. When Mahaprabhu told him, Gopal stand up, Gopal uh, rose and he became normal. This incident has been described in detail by Vrindavan Das Thakur. Therefore, I have described it only in brief. This is a matter of etiquette. If a previous acharya has already written about something, there is no need to repeat it for personal sense gratification or to outdo the previous acharya. Unless there is some definite improvement, one should not repeat. So this is like for us, if some devotee has rendered some service or um, basically if our mood is I want to show that I'm better than others, then it is not a proper etiquette. So Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is a very careful Vaishnava. So whatever incident is described in Vrindavan Das Thakur, he doesn't want to say on them again, because then it would be like I can describe this incident better than as described by Vrindavan Das Thakur, and that will not be very proper purposes. And purposes, unless there is definite improvement, there is no need to say. And we know that Saraswati Thakur wrote a commentary on Brahma Samhita. So Prabhupada did not write a commentary. He said for that commentary you can refer to Saraswati Thakur, my spiritual master. So in that way, the purpose is not that basically sense gratification or I am better than others previously. तबे महाप्रभु शने का विश्राम करिया स्नाना करी बारे गेला भक्तगण lana. After taking rest, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the devotees departed to take their baths. So after chanting and Gopal fainted, then Gopal came to life by Lord Chaitanya. Um, then devotees took rest, and then this is again happening in Gundicha temple, and there only. And they took bath, and they got up after rest and they took bath. After bathing, the Lord stood on the bank of the lake and put on dry garments. After offering obeisances to Lord Narasimhadev, whose temple was nearby, the Lord entered a garden. So after the seva, there was Mahaprasad pastimes. In the garden, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down with the other devotees. Vaninath Rai then came and brought all kinds of Mahaprasad. So he made all the devotees sit there and honor Mahaprasad. Kashi Mishra and Tulasi. Kashi Mishra is kind of temple superintendent, um, instructor, superintendent, also brought as much prasadam as 500 men could eat. Seeing the large quantity of prasadam, which consisted of rice, cake, sweet rice, and a variety of vegetables, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. So this is very nice way to serve Lord Chaitanya, is in the mood of servant or servant. When Mahaprabhu wanted devotees to be fed, and when Kashi Mishra as superintendent, when they saw that, when they brought quantity of Mahaprasad, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu loved the devotees so much. So when they came and they served the devotees, that gave much pleasure to Lord Chaitanya, which refers to, in our sense, in our life also, is when we serve devotees, um, it gives lot of pleasure to the Lord. Um, and also when we serve under guidance of devotees, then it gives lot of pleasure to devotees um, who are senior to us, and their blessings also helps us in very nice way. So among the devotees present with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati, Advaitacharya, Nityananda Prabhu, and many others. Hundreds of devotees. In this way, all the devotees sat down to take their lunch in consecutive lines, one beside other. So in a garden, devotees are sitting on line. Prasadam is being served, and Kashi Mishra and others, they brought huge quantity of prasadam. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to see all the arrangements. Haridasa Bali Prabhu Dake Gharne Gharna Dure Rahi Haridasa Kare Nivedana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was repeatedly calling Haridas, Haridas. And at that time, Haridas, standing at a distance, spoke as follows. So everybody sat down, they were taking prasad, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu noticed that Haridas was not sitting there. So Mahaprabhu called for Haridas twice. Bhakta Sange Prabhu Karuna Prasada Angikara Esanga Vasita Yogya Nahi Muni Chara. Haridas Thakur said, let Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu take his lunch with the devotees. Since I am abominable, I cannot sit among you. So this we see basically a constant characteristic of Haridas Thakur. He always would consider himself unfit in front of other glorious Vaishnavas. So Mahaprabhu called him, Haridas, please come and take lunch. And he said, I am not qualified to sit among all of you and take prasad. Govinda will give me prasad later outside the door. Govinda is here referred to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal servant. So after you all have taken, Govinda can come and serve me some prasad. And in this way, Govinda received lot of blessings because he was serving in a mode of servant to Lord Chaitanya, and all the devotees considered Govinda as a go-to person for anything. So they like Haidar Thakur was not comfortable with any of the Vaishnavas, but then he had faith in Govinda that he was comfortable with Govinda coming and serving me. So Govinda had such behavior that everybody was okay taking service from him, and that is a sign of great blessings for Govinda. So basically, then Govinda receives all the mercy from all the devotees. So Haridas Thakur said, Govinda will give me prasad later outside the door. Understanding his mind, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not call him again. So then Lord Krishna had previously taken his lunch in the forest, and that very pastime was remembered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is a sign or example set by Lord Chaitanya for a Krishna conscious person. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was serving in the garden next to Gundicha temple. He was serving everyone prasad. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, seeing the prasad being served to devotees in the garden, he was remembering how Lord Krishna and the cowherd boys, they take their prasad in the Vrindavan forest. And as he remembered that, he became agitated. Just by remembering the pastime of Lord Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was agitated by ecstatic love. But considering the time and circumstance, he remained somewhat patient. So this is also important that even if we develop some ecstatic emotions, uh, one should learn to tolerate oneself. Um, um, Prabhupada says if we exhibit out our symptoms of our Krishna consciousness, then um, that will take away the symptoms away from us, or we become barred from Krishna's mercy. As much as possible, we should not try to show off. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, when he remembered how Lord Krishna takes prasadam. Actually, Krishna's pastimes are like that. The moment we think of either Krishna's pastime or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, they have divinity contained in them, and they will capture our heart if we can contemplate on them. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was patient, and considering time, place, circumstances, he just tolerated. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You can give me the," and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always in the mood of pleasing devotees. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You can give me the ordinary vegetable known as lafra vyanjana, and you may deliver to all the devotees better preparations like cake, sweet rice, and amrita gutika." So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the mood like the devotee should be in the mood like um, let everybody else eat nice preparations, and I am okay. I am happy with simple. Whatever remains, I am happy with that. So that self control is very helpful. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in that mood, like when the love flows from a devotee's heart. um, then naturally one cares about others. Like the mother cares because mother loves the child. The mother is happy seeing the child is happy eating all nice food stuff, even if not much remains for her, and she is happy with that. Actually, this way, actually, you receive a lot of blessings from Lord Krishna because this behavior is wonderful. And we saw even when Lord Krishna cowherd boys, sorry, the calves were not visible. Lord Krishna gave up his lunch and he told the cowherd boys that you all continue taking your lunch. I will go and search for the calves and come back. And when Lord Krishna went, Brahma stole the cowherd boys also. But the idea is Lord Krishna gave up his lunch to so that others' lunch was not disturbed. They can continue eating and I can do the required seva. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, like, I can please give me ordinary vegetables and give all the nice food stuff to all the devotees. So it is said one time I heard that a neophyte devotee, when he goes to take prasad, he thinks, what's there for me? Oh, I will get this, I will get this, I will get this. Um, but when a more mature devotee, he takes prasad, then he thinks, did everybody get gulab jamuns? Did everybody get all the nice prasadam? So he thinks about others. But yeah, uh, since Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is omniscient, he know what types of preparations each person liked. He therefore had Sarup Damodar deliver these preparations to each devotee to his full satisfaction. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not in a, he was very personal and he was very loving. So he was not in a mood of like about others. He was not in a mood, you should control your senses, you should not eat palatable food stuff, you should not. But he was in a mood, he knows what preparation, what devotee likes. So he would give them what they like, so they are happy. So Mahaprabhu only mood was how to please the other devotees. For himself, he was like, give me something simple. But for others, he wanted very elaborate everything. And he's sitting in everyone's heart. So he made Sarup Damodar feed everybody what they like, so they are all happy. So basically, the principle is stick with oneself and lenient with others. Jagadananda went to distribute prasadam and suddenly he placed all the first class preparations on the plate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, naturally, this is the exchange of love. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is caring about all other devotees and all other devotees are caring about Lord Chaitanya. So he is like, give all good preparations to everybody else. And Jagadananda Pandit, who is in the mood of Satyabhama, he came and he gave all the nice preparations in the plate of Lord Chaitanya. When such so these pastimes actually they are very simple pastimes, but there are emotions there in the background, there is love in the background, and there is behavior in the background, there is a thought process in the background. That's what we are trying to imbibe. Otherwise, just hearing about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu itself is attracts a lot of mercy of the Lord, because the purpose is when we are interested in hearing about the Lord is happy. So uh, when such nice prasadam was put on the plate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord was outwardly very angry. Nonetheless, when the preparations were placed on his plate, sometimes by tricks and sometimes by force, the Lord was satisfied. And he was not satisfied because so Mahaprabhu would not like if somebody placed the nice offerings in his plate. He was not satisfied. He was not. He was externally very angry. I told you, give me simple food. Why did you give? So he was externally very happy, and he was internally very satisfied. And he was not very satisfied because the foodstuffs are very tasty, but he was satisfied seeing the love of his devotees. So it's the loving exchange which actually gives satisfaction. So yes, they forced Mahaprabhu and put nice palatable food in his plate, but this is actually an exhibition of love that they care for me, and that's why they are thinking about me. Uh, they are thinking about how to best serve me. So this feeling is what satisfied the Lord. When the food was thus delivered, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked at it for some time. Being afraid of Jagadananda, he finally ate something. So Lord was not very eager to eat palatable food stuff. He was satisfied with devotees' love, but he also was very eager to live a renounced life. When somebody would give him something which is very kind of for sense pleasure, Mahaprabhu would not accept it. So he was not very eager to eat it, but then he was afraid of Jagadananda. And this shows how the love controls the Lord. Again, he's the mood of Satyabhama. So um, uh, this verse describes the Lord knew that if he did not eat the food offered by Jagadananda, Jagadananda would certainly fast. Being afraid of this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate some of the prasadam he offered. So Lord knew that if I don't eat, he will fast and then he will be angry. But this is actually an exchange of love. Jagannath Pandit has such love for the Lord that the Lord was afraid of displeasing Jagadananda Pandit. So he ate out of force. In a way, Krishna is Abhigya Swara, completely independent, yet he is dependent upon the love of his devotees. Sarup Damodar Goswami then brought some excellent sweetmeats and standing before the Lord offered them to him. Sarup Damodar also was having some very nice sweets. So he came to the Lord and he gave. And the Lord told everybody, give me only simple food, I don't want. Sarup Damodar then said, just take a little of this Mahaprasadam and see how it is that Lord Jagannath had accepted it. Now, Sarup Damodar knows that Lord Chaitanya, if I give him, he will say, no, I don't want it. So he is tricking the Lord by saying that, it's not for you. Just see if Jagannath is happy by eating that. So taste it and see if Jagannath liked it. Or how was, or just like how Jagannath felt. Please experience what Jagannath felt by eating this prasad. So in that way, they actually want to serve, and this is uh, the the love. Upon saying this, Sarup Damodar placed some food before the Lord, and the Lord, out of affection, ate it. And Mahaprabhu knows everything, but then he loves Sarup Damodar, so he ate. So, in this way, we see every instance there is exchange of loving feelings. Sarup Damodar and Jagadananda again and again offered the Lord some food. Thus, they behaved affectionately with the Lord. This was very, very uncommon. So, like in public, and they are just trying to please the Lord, and that was very satisfying. Okay, so I would like to stop here and see if there are some discussion we can take. Uh,
Hare Krishna Satchidananda.
Dandapata Mataji, Hare Krishna.
So, in today's episode, you discussed that like Advaita Acharya's son was again became alive, right? After touching Chaitanya
Yes,
Mahaprabhu.
Yes.
And similar case happened with in another episode with Srinivas Thakur, right?
Yes.
Or Srinivas Pandit, right? So
She was.
in that case,
Yes.
Srinivas Pandit. So that time, like Kirtan took place, and after that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that something inauspicious thing has happened in this house, and then he saw that like he was lying dead, and then he woke up, but again he became dead, right?
Yes.
So in that case, why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu let him leave that soul again? Is there any like past history of that soul?
Yeah. This I don't know the answer. The best we can say is these are the pastimes of the Lord, and different time, different situations. We can say that this was Lord's will, because in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, we don't bring karma there in a way that he was supposed to die or he was supposed to live, but we just say it as Lord's will. And even in Lord Krishna's pastimes, Arjuna's son Abhimanyu left the world. And there are many instances where Lord Krishna helped, saved devotees from various dangers. And if Lord Krishna would have wanted, he would have made arrangement to save Abhimanyu also. Like when Bhima was in danger, or Yudhishthira Maharaj was in danger, or when various, like when the queens of Lord Krishna, when they were in danger, um, and Lord Krishna helped and saved their life. But he did not save Abhimanyu. He just let him go. So these are pastimes of the Lord Mataji. That's what I can say.
Yeah, because in Mahabharata also like he saved Parikshit even in the womb, but like Abhimanyu, even if he was like in front of him, he couldn't like say, yeah, that
He,
also is
he let him go. And even
yeah.
Parikshit Maharaj, he let him be cursed and die. I mean, Lord Krishna can do anything, but these are his pastimes, Mataji.
Yeah, then but Srinivas Thakur and Srinivas Pandit and Advaita Acharya are both on same platform of bhakti, right? Means there
Yes,
is no like favorite or something like that.
yes, yes.
Okay, okay, thank you, friend.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, so we'll end here. My obeisance to all of you. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namo Bharatapati Vaishnavibhyo ki jai. Shri Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.